Hello, this is Jim Partridge. I'm a mapper and modder, and I'm talking through my game or the mod that I developed called Deep Down. This is map 2. This was one of the first maps that I developed for the game. I'm going to take a step out and we'll take a look around. Just a quick note, you can see that sometimes these soldiers come through the level transition with you. Just polish him off just for the hell of it. You can actually, make sure that they get killed off. It's just a bit of an oversight from mine. Yes, it was a nice shot, wasn't it? That's one of my gripes about the pistol, actually, is the fact that it's basically a sniper rifle in your hand. You can shoot at any distance with almost perfect accuracy. I had a few players who were able to get over this fence at one point and get out of the map and stuff like that, so I kind of no-clipped a lot of this area. This area began with the hut, which we can go and have a look at in a second. Let's take a drive down there. None of this was here at the beginning. The whole point of this area began with the concept that I wanted the player to do some crazy stuff with the car. I added the crow just for the hell of it, I think. I wanted to add an achievement for killing the crow, but I didn't. Anyway, so it started with the idea that I wanted the player to do some crazy stuff with the car, and that basically transpired in my mind to be, well, I want them to drive over a house. That's something weird and crazy we haven't done before. So I built a house, and then I tried to work out how they could drive over it, so I built a porch, which is ridiculously long, and then I had that as a ramp. And then I thought, well, okay, so I'll do a puzzle as to how to get the ramp down. And I went through various different iterations, some of which is still left over. So you've got these canisters here. I left them in just for detail at this point. But the idea was at one point that you would get canisters and you would lock them into place. You would set them into sort of a placement here and here, and you had to put like 3 or 4 of them in. You had to go and find them and put them in, and then detonate them. The problem with that idea was that if I happen to have a gun, which I do, and I blew up all my canisters before I put them over there, then the puzzle's screwed and you can't do it. So what I ended up doing was having it became a much simpler puzzle in the fact of, there's some barrels, they're covered, all you got to do is uncover them and then shoot it. I didn't think it was particularly tough. I knew that we hadn't really necessarily seen that, though. I thought that was something a bit more interesting. Okay, there we go. At one point I did have some bad guys in this area as well, but I decided that that was too much combat, and it was a chance to, here was an opportunity to just take a break and to get a breather. So if you try and head over this without the car and without Alex, I had Alex nudge you and remind you. If you do tend to choose to go forward without Alex, then it's fine, you can come back, it's not a problem. There isn't actually a gate here though, and there is a situation where you can drive over this without Alex and leave her behind, basically, and there is no way that Alex can move forward. I tried not to make that happen. I think she will teleport to you if you move forward. Anyway.
We're picking up something on the radar.
Okay, that radar blip there actually, I believe, is wrong. It shouldn't be there. I think it's left in here accidentally, although it does tend to indicate that there's a pickup here. For each area that we had, I tried to add a little bit of exploration, a little bit of pickup type stuff. I've used these at some certain points throughout the whole mod. These canisters. The head crabs drop through the floor, which is kind of annoying, but hey ho, what are you going to do? A bug is a bug. Okay. And at one point I was going to have the crane pick up the car from here, but I couldn't quite get it close enough and working to make that work, so instead I used it a different way. What I did want to do was to be able to continually see where I was and where I was going to be. So here we can see we've got the the outdoor walkway, balcony. Looking at it from here, it's very blocky. Probably should have broken that up a lot more. It's very square. And I also had a point here where this was a solid fence, and I added a chain link fence instead, so that your player could see back to where they'd been before. I quite like that kind of looping functionality. Okay. So moving on. Got this section here. I'm not sure how many people realised that they were supposed to drive up here immediately, or whether they left the car here and went past this point on foot. I know that some people did, and they had to come all the way back down and get the car later on. It was always my intention that the player should be able to drive through this section first of all, but you know, different players play different ways. I can't remember when this kind of idea came to me about having this big kind of physics prop. I just hadn't seen it done before, so I thought it was quite fun to play with that kind of physics shapes. Getting the car to move around that corner was a bitch. It wouldn't go, so there's a big clip brush here in this corner to kind of smooth it out a bit, so it enables you to sort of drive around it. Once you lose momentum in this tunnel, it can be quite difficult to get moving again, but there you go. At one point I had snipers in this area, so you'd move here and there was like a sniper up here on the top of the crane. Didn't really work very well. It was way too punishing, I think, and I think the player was just under too much stress at that point, so I culled it and had the action happen a little bit further up. Here I wanted to, I've spoken previously about combining different entities in the game. This is one that I don't think we'd seen very much before, was the mine and the barnacle, and the animation and how they work. It's just something to do, you know. It just gives you a slightly different, surprising way of interacting with them that we hadn't necessarily seen before. I did have a problem with Alex getting caught in the barnacles for a while, so I've had to sort of program her to stay down there until we're done, until that area is clear. There's quite a lot of NPC clipping around this area as well to make sure that Alex doesn't get snagged, mainly because the game will crash if she does. I don't think, obviously at this point nobody knew that you were going to be picking the car up with the crane, so people just parked wherever. I think a lot of people had to come back down and readjust where the car was, which I was going to make easier with a drop ladder, but I don't think it happened. And in this case, you can see, here we go, we've got a nice bug going on where Alex just simply isn't moving. I think this is part of my problem with this map. What I did was I used way too many oh my goodness. There we go. I used way too many nodes for player navigation, and I went over the entity count, and what happened was a lot of the nodes stopped working at that point, because... oh well, whatever. She might catch us up later. We've got a map to talk about. You know, bugs like that, especially with player AI, can be tough to resolve. I have an ethos of trying, you know, keep them to a minimum, but don't obsess over it. If stuff is slightly glitchy, then it could be worse. This is one of the only places in my maps where the Combine can reach you directly. They can run straight up to you and start hitting you or whatever. Not a great solution. I would rather that wasn't the case, but it is in some places. I always prefer to put a barrier between myself and the or between the player and the Combine, to allow them to. It just makes for a better firefight if the player can't reach them directly. If you can walk up toe to toe with them, it's just less fun. So this was an idea I had. I was looking for a time device that would add a bit of spice later on. I put it there just simply to get the player used to the idea. I got quite a lot of comments about the posters. These two, or this one and the one up there, are obviously from the official Left 4 Dead games. This one I found online, and I should have given the author credit. I didn't. Do slightly regret that. I hope no one thinks I made the poster. I don't think it looks like I made the poster. It's here being shown with other posters that I found. And it is a fantastic poster. I don't think necessarily anybody took from this that I had created the poster, nor was I claiming to do so. But I did get some comments about that, and it would appear that I did bad. Should have given the poster maker their props. I don't know the name of the poster maker, but whoever you are, I think it's fantastic. Thank you for making such a great poster. I wanted to showcase it because it was brilliant. Looks like we've got some AI issues going on at the moment. I'm not sure quite. Maybe it's because I'm on cheat mode that some of the AI isn't reacting. Doesn't matter. Let's keep going. So moving through here, Alex gave you a quick nudge about the crane, or about getting the car, and then also down there we walked past the actual force field, and hopefully the player saw the force field and thought, oh, I'm going to need the car to get through that, and then realised that they were going to need to use the crane once they turn around this way to get the car. Hopefully that all came together. I think for most people it did. It took quite a bit of tweaking to get that right. I had to put this APC in the way to make the player move around so they couldn't see the gate immediately, so that their attention would be drawn down to there. Also to put some combine down in there to really get their attention. This went through so many different iterations, this area. At one point I had a helicopter gunship fight going on and everything. It was crazy. And also just the level of detailing could have been better. I think it's pretty sparse and could have been better. This whole area over here is a bit of a red herring. I had quite a lot of players who were sort of heading over here thinking this was the way to go. This entryway is appalling. Terrible mapping. Look at that. Ugh, awful. As I said, detailing is not necessarily my strong suit. I mean, hopefully the player explores the whole area, and it does give them the opportunity to explore the area, and that's kind of on purpose, because later on they're going to be, doing some combat here, or at least using the crane. So I wanted to get them used to it, and to, just get their bearings in the area as well. So I think it works quite well. Obviously, eventually we get encouraged. Well, not even encouraged. We discover that this is the way in. There is a nudge from Alex at this point saying she'll stay out here while we go inside. One of the interesting things about having Alex, or any companion in these games, is that you need to get rid of them from time to time. The player can do a lot more on their own when they don't have to worry about a companion following them around, or as to whether a companion is going to make it around a particular bend or whatever. The mapper gets a bit obsessed with that, in my opinion, or I certainly did, about whether Alex could stay with the player. So it's good to get the player away from them from time to time. She's not even there, but it plays anyway. Great. Yeah, so this is a... so the AI is really not reacting. That's fine. It gives us more opportunity to... I guess they are reacting. They're just not reacting to me because I've got no target on. Anyway, this section here I thought was I quite liked, especially this section here with the mines and the turrets. I think once again, if you can stop the player from reaching the bad guys immediately, it makes for a much tougher game. So the mines were there to stop the player just running straight in and nailing it with the gravity gun. I think it worked out quite well. Added some extra goodies down here for anyone that doesn't know. There's some health vials under there. This fight here, I believe people felt was good fun. Once again, let's see, I'm putting barriers between here, so we've got these shelves, so you're sort of fighting through the shelf. There is a no-clip brush here for the NPCs. They will not move past that point. That keeps the fighting more interesting. The player has to actually advance on them. They are not going to run straight up toe to toe and kill them. Okay. and yeah, I quite liked how this bit turned out. This whole fight and the kitchen fight as well, I really liked. I had the idea of having these things in the way so that as the fight happened, all these things would go flying off the shelves, which I quite liked. I added the lighting I quite like for this area as well. I think it works pretty well. For those that don't know, there is a battery in there, and I think having these here is quite fun because it means the player kind of might spot them from over here and will pull them towards them while they're under fire. It's quite a nice setup, I thought, throughout the hotel. Detailing wise could have been better, I think. I think the kitchen's not too bad. I think it's believable. It's at the same kind of level as maybe Half-Life 2 detailing. Maybe some more decals would have sold it a bit better. Okay, got another exploding barrel. Just made it a bit more interesting. Okay. People felt, I think, this was one of the main culprits of areas that could have had a lot more detailing to it and was a bit sparse. I totally agree. I really struggled to find props and to find interesting things that could look hotelish. Everything in Half-Life 2 is a bit run down and a bit crappy in the texture set and in the models, so it didn't really fit with having a hotel that was relatively modern, which is the reason why I struggled. Added a picture of Breen that can be destroyed just because I know that people are going to destroy it and it's an extra thing to do. Also under here I added the Magnum for those that found it, as a sort of an early bonus. I normally add the Magnum as a bonus weapon as well as the crossbow. As you can see, the stairs are made of perfect wood and all this. It just looks pretty crap. I think it doesn't really work very well. Have the ability to move back outside, so we've sort of completed one loop, and I like the idea of looping a lot of this stuff together. This section here is also pretty sparse. Doesn't really look very good, but you do what you can with the skills that you have, I guess. And then we kind of have our second view of this area, and I think what I was trying to do was I wanted to get as much out of the area as possible. I could have gone way further with this actually. Well, I could have not had these stairs here, and I could have had us move into this area, this section of the hotel on the far side there, and come up to here, through a different way. I could have had a ton more gameplay throughout this section of the hotel, and I just didn't. Looking back on it now, I'd love to really expand this map and get a ton more gameplay out of it. Because I think that some of the best gameplay in Half-Life 2 is spent in corridors and in rooms, indoors. Okay, so up onto the roof. Once again, you'll notice that we've got a barrier between us and the Combine. I thought this made for a pretty interesting fight in the fact that they could throw grenades against the fence, and I didn't really have anywhere to go. So you're kind of, you sort of dive off and that kind of thing. It seemed to make it quite well, and also to reach them, to be able to do your thing at close range, you have to go over this very fiddly fence and that kind of thing, and it really just prevents the player from running straight up and just slaughtering the bad guys, because the player is hugely overpowered in Half-Life 2 in my opinion. I liked this kind of gameplay as well, that you could run up to the top and really nail down on top of them with the machine gun. Moving through this section here, I probably had too many of these. I added the Combine cops, the Metro cops, at the very last minute because it just gave it something slightly more interesting to do. What's annoying is if you catch these mines at all on the railing, they will explode in your face, and that didn't work very well. But hey. At one point I had the whole point of the helicopter to fly over this section was really just to show off the scale of the area that I built, and also, and these cables move as the helicopter flew over the top and stuff like that. It was a good moment, but it just didn't really fit with the gameplay, and I wasn't going to use the helicopter later, so to have a flyby of a helicopter for absolutely no reason at all was kind of pointless, and it would have led the player to believe there should have been a helicopter later, and there wasn't. This, once again, there we go, is another loop. so I'm opening the same section up again. This is mainly for if you fall off the crane or something, you can go back and get back to where you were pretty quickly. And then finally we make it up to the crane. The crane I wanted to do because obviously we hadn't seen it since Half-Life 2, and I didn't think we really used it in a lot of games in mods since. It's really easy to put together and make work, which I was surprised. It's not a complicated piece of mapping in a map to make it work. It was just a question of using. Once I had the car as a key to open various gateways, the idea that I would need to get to the car to various places sort of drove a lot of the gameplay. The gameplay at the top there, as the Combine come in, the idea was that obviously you can squash them with the crane and have some fun. Once again, this is an endless piece of gameplay. The idea was you could just continually play here forever. Alex will not take part in the gameplay at this point until you get the car into this area, and then she'll join in. The minute the car comes into this area, the Combine stops spawning as well. For those who were paying attention, there is a random item generator over there. To get to it, a way. This top container here has a ladder attached to it. If you remember, we jumped onto the ladder and came across. You can actually move the whole container and the ladder, so you've actually got a movable ladder that you can move to the far side here. Other people made much easier choice of just blowing the cars up, jumping onto that roof, and then getting to it. There's a ladder on that side to get back again, but it was there for just to add some more fun and some longevity to the gameplay. I think quite a lot of people had fun squashing Combine with the crane. In Half-Life 2, they had it once. They had only a few Combine to kill, so I thought I'd give players a chance to really have some fun with it. This I actually didn't realise until Darren, Custom Gamer, pointed it out that it was doing this. Too busy having fun and playing my own game, but whatever. It didn't break the game, it's fine. Okay, that's pretty much it for this map. I got a lot of praise for this map. I think the way it worked out, this map evolved over time, but there were definite decisions that were made throughout the design process. Oh, by the way, there's also I'm sure there's a pickup here as well. Yeah, there you go. Which is a bit of a pain to get to actually, but it is possible. There's a whole bunch of batteries there you can play with. The other thing I forgot to mention is you're running around the balcony on that side. If you look down into the valley on the far side of the cabin, you can see the G-Man standing on the far side of near the road where the oil tanker was. But anyway, so this map just turned out to be, far better than I ever hoped. Just purely because everything came together really well with regards to how everything was instructed. As in you can see all of the key points you need to at the right times and that kind of stuff. So yeah, really happy with it. And then we're into our tunnel.